On a on a Harden Philadelphia trade, nowhere.
Yeah, nowhere.
Nowhere.
You think that's
They're
not happening?
nowhere.
No.
Well, I'm not in the prediction. I try not to be in the prediction business, Greeny, because you follow the news where it leads. But right now, there's no negotiation going on between Philadelphia and Brooklyn. You know, the trade deadline is tomorrow at 3:00. It can change. But the idea that they are going back and forth, that's been surmised by some, is I don't believe that to be accurate. And so, again, deadlines create action often, and people hold out, and there's always a lot of posturing. But I think Brooklyn still believes right now its best path is to get Kevin Durant back and get James Harden healthy and Kyrie Irving on the court and get those three together again probably after the All-Star break when they're hopeful Durant could be back. It is not a perfect or ideal scenario right now with James Harden. There's no question about that. But I think barring, a flurry of negotiations and activity that hasn't happened yet, right now, I think James Harden is likely to be with the Nets. Again, it's always fluid, but I don't sense an appetite from Brooklyn to do a deal that's just simply Ben Simmons for James Harden. And if Philadelphia decided to, get really aggressive with an offer or offers, again, it can change, of course, but I don't believe there's any negotiations going on right now.
Fully understood. And so with that said, and I feel like twice a week you and I walk over to our little corner on NBA Countdown and I ask you about these same two guys. Are the people in Philadelphia, I'm not sure what the right word is here, are they resigned to the idea that they're just going to have to go the rest of this season in which Joel Embiid is having the best year of his career and understanding, in his particular case, how narrow his window might be just based on his history of injuries and everything else? Would you describe them like sort of some resignation that it's just not going to happen before this trade deadline?
I don't know if it's resignation. I think they would love to make a dramatic improvement to their roster. I'm not sure the sense that Embiid had injuries, but he's been a very healthy player. He's been a very productive player the last few years here. And I think that certainly, again, of course you want to take advantage to what is, what may turn out to be an MVP season from Embiid, but they certainly want James Harden. There's no question about that. And if they don't get him at the trade deadline, then they'll pursue him in the offseason. And so I think that's kind of where they are with the Sixers. But I do think there's a willingness to not just – we've been through this certainly many times. I do think there's a willingness in Philly to not just give Ben Simmons away, just do a deal to do a deal here at the deadline, when they believe that there are more very prominent players they possibly could get at for him in the offseason, starting with Harden.
Greeny and Woj with us here on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average. You had yourself a busy day yesterday with some really interesting deals, including this one young player everybody loves in Tyrese Halliburton and some of the others. What else are we watching today? What else over the course of, between now and our show tonight and then the trade deadline special you guys will have tomorrow leading up to the deadline? What else are we keeping a close eye on right now?
Yeah, I think there's certainly been some very significant players move among, I think, the most significant that were likely to move the trade deadline. You've seen a move leading up to the trade deadline. Norman Powell, Robert Covington from Portland to the Clippers, Domas Sabonis to Sacramento, and then Tyrese Halliburton, which certainly surprised people, from the Kings to the Pacers. Karis LeVert goes to Cleveland. So certainly a lot of names that you were hearing leading toward the trade deadline have moved. And, Jeremy Grant in Detroit is certainly a player that there's nobody in the league who wouldn't love to have him. Detroit hasn't seen anything yet that would lead them to believe they're on the cusp of trading Grant. He's got another year left on his deal. They can take it into the offseason. They could always extend him in Detroit. But I think without getting, I think they'd like 2 first-round picks back for him or a really good young player. And short of that, I think you may see Detroit keep him. But players like Serge Ibaka with the Clippers, Marvin Bagley Jr. with the Kings, those are certainly, players who, might be certainly rotational players somewhere, but not certainly the star quality of some of the other guys that we've seen move or talking about Ben Simmons, James Harden.
Mm-hmm. Greeny and Woj, one more quick one for you here, and that would be, the Lakers had just got worked last night. They got blown out in what was an interesting night for them because, they beat the Knicks at home on ABC. We had the game on Saturday night and went to overtime. Then they were home resting for a couple days. They got the defending champs and Giannis coming in. This was a chance for the Lakers to make some statement, and they just got obliterated basically from the jump, and Giannis went nuts against them. Is there anything that we should expect them to do before the trade deadline at all? LeBron sounded really frustrated last night. Is there any reason to think they might do anything at all in the next, 30 hours?
I do think, Greeny, they could do something, but I think it's probably going to be along the margins. They've been very reluctant to move out a first-round pick in deals. They've just given, they had to give a pick up to get Russell Westbrook. The idea of giving another pick away to bring in someone or to offload someone has not been appetizing to them, especially when deep down they know it might not really make a significant difference.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.